into Right Side Broadcasting Network. Michael Kuenzler, the co-owner of All Family Pharmacy. Get your deals right now at allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Code RSBN10 for all of those discounts. Michael, we just are about to hear from the President of the United States. Low health care costs, all that access, right to try, most favored nation status on the mind of this administration and most Americans going into the 2026 midterms. So from your perspective as a pharmacy owner, you see this every day. What policies directly impact everyday Americans when it comes to the cost of pharmaceuticals?
The costs are driven up by insurance companies and the drug manufacturers. I mean, it's clear as day. Trump has mentioned that. I mean, he just did a deal with Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly, which is huge for those who need those GLP-1 drugs for weight loss, diabetes, and obesity. But clearly, I mean, it shows that the drug manufacturers are the ones driving the prices up, and then alongside is the insurance companies. I mean, there's things called no gag clauses, where if a patient comes into our pharmacy with insurance, and they tell us they have insurance, and I have a drug that they prescribed, and it costs, the insurance reimbursement rate is $35, and our cash price is $20, we have a no gag clause where we cannot tell them the cash price. We have to give them the insurance price, which that extra $15 can go towards something good towards that individual's plan. But unfortunately, the insurance companies want the drug prices higher so they can charge more for their insurance. I mean, these are the biggest factors in the game. And you can look up all this stuff. It's clear as day who is the one driving these prices.
You know, as Washington always talking healthcare reform, welfare reform, all kinds of reform, but they really do not put the American people first. So what do they often get wrong about Americans when they're seeking to lower the cost of their pharmaceuticals?
They think that Americans are unfortunately uneducated when it comes to these drug prices. People know that drugs should not be thousands of dollars. Right. We understand that there's trial and error. We want to make sure the drugs are safe and effective when they hit the market. But they think that Americans should be paying $1,000 for a drug that's brand new to the market. And it should not be like that. They think that we're stupid, and, you know, people are waking up now. They're smarter more than ever. They're unfortunately ordering from overseas. They're ordering from Canada. We hear all day long people's packages getting seized by customs, by HHS. So, you know, these are things that Americans are trying to do to go around these drug prices. But President Trump has done a great job with starting off with Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk, right? That's the starting point. It's what other drug makers want to come to the table, who want to make a deal, who want to make America healthy again, who want to, you know, provide these drug prices at a more reasonable price. And, you know, these are the stepping stones into bringing prices down. One of the ways we brought down ivermectin is we started compounding it. We found a way to compound it because it requires a higher dose. We noticed, you know, when people are taking it, you know, for off-label use, for parasite cleanses, that sometimes that they need 6 or 7 tablets at a time. Well, that can get very costly. So instead, we just make it into one capsule. And they're only taking one capsule rather than 6 to 7 tablets. We brought the prices down of ivermectin, and we're going to continue to drive them down. And we're working on mebendazole. Mebendazole is $600 for a chewable tablet. That's from the brand Ivrum. And so that's something that, you know, we sell at like, I think $1.50 a capsule instead of $600. These prices are kind of outrageous. And, you know, I'm hoping that President Trump continues to fight all of the drug manufacturers, not just those two.
And the MAHA movement's been about transparency, especially on these costs. How does that translate to the pharmaceutical world and what you're trying to accomplish with your great company, Michael, at allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN?
We're bringing the new medications, the new supplements to the table, right? We brought in methylene blue. I have so many families and friends that have, you know, reached out to me, asking me multiple questions about it. I have a lot of our cancer patients who take it. Those are the ones, you know, who really need the energy, the boost. I myself, I take it. When I do a lot of these interviews, you know, there's no room for error, right? You know, we got to kick out the brain fog. We got to really be clear on our mind, because we got to speak. We've got to talk from the heart. We got to understand what we're talking about. Can't just make things up. We're not politicians. These are real world Americans that are listening to us. And so bringing to the forefront drugs like methylene blue, NAD+, you know, some of these biohacking drugs. And then on top of all of that, ivermectin and mebendazole. Mebendazole I brought to the table about a year and a half ago. I fell into the Dr. Mackis's Substack. I started doing a lot of research, and I cannot dispense fenbendazole because it's an animal drug. So I found out there is a very similar version called mebendazole. And so I was like, well, that's a human drug. Why not bring that to the table since I can't sell people fenbendazole? And so we brought that in a year and a half ago. And since then, it's been a huge hit to the market. Now there's tons and tons of companies trying to sell it. They're trying to do similar to what we do, which is a great thing. Competition is always a great thing because it drives prices down. It keeps America honest. And so we do enjoy competition because it's going to keep us honest. It's going to keep the prices honest. And it's going to, that's the most important part, especially with the MAHA movement.
Now, are you concerned with your expertise that healthcare decisions becoming more political than they are medical? As you mentioned, that a lot of this, the politicians get involved and they think they know what they're doing rather than doctors and experts in the field.
It's always going to be politics with them because it's always about money. There are so many organizations out there that are funded by big pharma and by these drug companies, and people will never see the paper trail, right? Because there's things called, 401c4, where you can donate towards a cause without your name being on that trail. So these drug companies can make those donations without their names being out there. And those are changes that need to be made at the forefront so people can see who's really behind these bills, who's really writing that small writing within some of these bills that are coming out, right? One of the ones that they're trying to do in Florida, which if it passes in Florida, I'll be surprised, but I won't be, because Florida is a very free state, is the GLP-1 companies, Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly, are trying to get away with compounding. They're trying to force pharmacies, if they want to buy the bulk product, they have to buy it from the manufacturer. They're not going to sell the bulk product. It's that simple. Now they're starting with GLP-1s and they're going to move it into hormones. They can move it into ivermectin. They can move it into mebendazole. They can do whatever they want once they introduce a bill like that. And that's going to move away from compounding. Compounding has been huge for the Americans, right? We customize drugs based on allergies, based on dosage, based on, physicians' directions. We can make something topical rather than oral. There's so many things we can do with compounding. And it's the biggest threat to big pharma and drug manufacturers as we see it.
Michael Kuenzler, co-owner of All Family Pharmacy. You can get all these discounted off-label generics at myfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Thank you, Michael, so much for joining us live as we get ready for the State of the Union 2026.
Thank you.